Hello and welcome to a very special Valentine's Day episode of The Private Record. This is episode 4, and like we've been trying to do, we've been trying to make sure we release these in the right order so everyone gets a proper idea of the spectrum of the kinds of stories that we're going to have here on The Private Record and the kinds of guests as well. And this one, as I said, is a Valentine's Day special. It is, I suppose you could call it a love story, but I don't know if that's the right way to file it away. It's more, well, Bobby, our guest, Bobby is quite the character, as you will soon see. He describes it as the ultimate catfish, but it's not exactly a catfish. It's not exactly the right term to use, which is no surprise because as you will see, no offense, Bobby. Bobby, I know you're watching this, but when Bobby came on, I don't know if he was like nervous to tell the story. He says it's been a while, so he was a little foggy on the details, and there's a lot of hemming and hawing, which I personally think makes him telling the story even funnier. He's got such a way about him, and again, no offense, Bobby, but it's not quite bumbling, but you can really kind of see how, even just through the way he's being in the interview, you can see how he got fooled and lied to so tremendously. I mean, it is like a Titanic. The reason he calls it the ultimate catfish is because he literally bought into like the biggest, boldest, most ridiculous lies that anyone's ever been fed, and he just buys it the whole way. And I mean, as I'm sure you can see, during the episode, my producer off screen and I on screen are laughing increasingly as the story goes because it just gets more and more and more absurd. And at a certain point, I found myself trying to like stifle my laughter a little bit because it's not that I didn't want Bobby to know I was laughing. He's laughing too as he tells the story. Trust me, he understands how absurd it is. But it's like when someone's telling you about the stupid things they've done, you don't want to always laugh in their face every single time. But that's for you guys to do. You guys can laugh every single time. But really, that's part of Bobby's charm, I think. And that's part of why you guys are going to like him. It's part of why I liked him so much. When I read his submission, it was, first of all, it was so long. You guys don't need to send in submissions that are like as long as Moby Dick, okay? But his was so long. And as I read it, I just kept thinking, this guy, and I think I even say this to him during the interview, this guy sounds like the biggest idiot in history. He sounds like such a rube. Like, how could you believe these things? But Bobby did believe them, as you will soon find out. And there's something particular about this specific interview with Bobby. The way Bobby tells this story, some of these were recorded a while ago, so I end up having to rewatch them, like even weeks, sometimes even months later. And Bobby's, for some reason, I had forgotten a little bit about it. And when I rewatched it, I was like giddy with excitement about the prospect of getting it out, and specifically getting it out on Valentine's Day because of the way it sort of fits in with romance and relationships and these kinds of things. But there's a way Bobby tells the story that is so real and so honest and so much in line with why I think this show is so special and can be so special, because there's just something about the way someone is telling a story about a thing that happened to them as they're remembering it, things coming to them as they're speaking, people kind of going back and filling in details, then jumping forward and sort of like, it's why I love to listen to people tell me stories. It's just, you really see them being alive in the moment, sharing something with you. And now I get to share it with all of you. Which is, again, the point of the show. So I'm really, really excited about this episode. Happy Valentine's Day. This one's for all the lovers out there. I hope you really, really enjoy it. Yeah, if you want to be a guest on the show, of course, go to theprivaterecord.com and submit yourself and your story. We are very much looking forward to hearing from you. And of course, follow us at all socials at The Private Record, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. And of course, please, please, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Private Record. And that's it. Have a great Valentine's Day. I love you so much. Thank you for listening. And if you don't have a Valentine, be mine. Thank you. I love you. Bye. Yeah, sounds good then. Yeah. Way we usually do this, I'll ask you to introduce yourself, give us like the headline or genre of your story, and then we'll just get right into it.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess like the headline would be maybe like the ultimate catfish. I don't know. Just I got totally hoodwinked by a girl. So
Dude, I mean, I'm actually going to make sure when the episode starts, it's going to start on your words, just like, I don't know, the ultimate catfish, because if I heard that at the top of any recording, I'd be like, I'm listening to this whole fucking thing. But yeah, welcome to the private record. What is your name though, too, if you don't mind sharing that with us?
yeah, my name's Bobby Rogers.
Amazing. Okay. Thank you, Bobby. Tell us, tell us now about your ultimate catfish story. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start with kind of my history,
Great.
just to kind of give you a little bit of preface and
Yeah.
what I went into this situation, how I went into this situation. So I was with somebody for about a year, 2018 to 2019. Great relationship, great person, and unfortunately, she passed away in a car accident.
Oh my
So
God,
kind
man.
of yeah, yeah. So and I'm not saying that for pity. I'm just it's
No.
kind of it'll play itself later on in the in the story, but
Yeah.
um
Context. Okay. Yeah. That's important context. Okay.
yeah, so I went about after that happened, I just took a year off from talking to
Yeah.
any girls, just take care of my shit, kind of deal with the feelings I was dealing with, went put myself in therapy, blah blah blah, and just took some time. So after about a year, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to kind of at least just talk to people, kind of just get back out there.
Mm-hmm.
And during that year time, I was living about 45 minutes away from like where all my friends were at and stuff. So I ended up selling my house, moved in with a family friend, and I was just renting,
Mm.
kind of figuring out my next move, kind of just again just working on myself. So
Mm-hmm.
after a year, yeah, I was like trying to look. I wasn't like actively looking, I guess, but this girl had who I knew. She went to my high school actually. I didn't know her that well because I only went to my high school for just over a year, and
Mm.
I moved to Michigan from out of state. Um, so I yeah I knew who she was, but she was a few years younger than me, and I more or less just knew she existed, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. So um, she kind of slid into my DMs on Instagram, that thing, and then we got to chatting a little bit, and then I was like, I'll try hanging out with her. So I hung out with her, and um, she had told me that she was previously married. She
Mm.
had a kid, and I was like, cool. Like I've never been married, but I have a kid. My daughter at the time was 13. She's
Mm.
almost 16 now.
Cool.
Um, and so I was like, cool. And we hung out, but honestly, after the first like few weeks, there was just something not right about her. Like it's hard to describe. And also I should say, like, I've spent the last almost 3 years trying to eliminate this entire experience out of my memory. So it's funny, like I was like, you know what, I'm gonna submit this. I probably won't get picked, but
Right.
and then I got the email, and then all of a sudden I'm like having flashbacks, and I'm trying to remember the story.
Yeah.
I'm like taking a shower last night, kind of thinking about like what I'm like just preparing my mind, and I
Mm.
was like, oh yeah, this happened. Oh
Right.
yeah, that happened. It's like
Yeah.
wow. So, anyways, back to it. Yeah. So we're hanging out, and again, she's just really weird mannerisms. Like I could tell she's really insecure, but
Mm.
she tried to hide it with, um, I guess like an inflated ego
Mm.
or like narcissism, or just it was really weird. She tried to act like she had everything figured out, like
Mm.
she knew all the answers, and um, it was just weird. And then we like an idiot, was thinking with my dick. We ended up hooking up
Mm-hmm.
and didn't wear protection. And granted, I didn't like, I pulled out, but
Mm-hmm.
I guess anything can happen. So,
Anything can happen. We have heard enough stories to know that anything is possible. I think some of us might be seeing where this is going as of now. But before we go a little further, I want to talk a little bit more
yeah,
about you say, and I understand you say it's hard to explain, but like obviously this is a revisionist because it's hindsight's 2020. But at the
yeah.
time, you're saying like things she's a little bit weird or like what is it just like the inflated ego thing, or is she acting weird? Is she telling, like, is she lying? Is she just kind of being strange? What's going on?
Yeah, you could tell she would lie
Mm.
about things that I didn't even care about, and
Mm.
she would say contradicting things. And this is going to sound petty. This is going to sound petty right now,
Mhm.
but for me, I'm like picking up these little red flags.
Yeah.
So it's more or less like these little things that are building, stacking up on top of one another.
Right.
And for example, like we're in the car listening to music, and I turned on a song, and I was like, this song is cool. I found it, listened to the other. And she's like, oh, I hate this. I hate this kind of music. It's trash. And it's like kind of like your modern like 2020s like hip hop. A lot of it's trash,
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay. And then she turned on like the next day she turned on a song. It was like maybe by the exact same artist. I don't know. It was like the same thing. And I'm like, I thought you said you hated this kind of music. And oh, and she like didn't know what to, she always had an answer
Uh,
to like validate what she had said,
mhm.
but just little things like that. She and we're gonna get into like the red flags,
Right, right, right.
some of
So
this
she's just
stuff,
like a
but
weird person, but not like, it's not like she's like scaring you or anything. It's just like she's doing weird stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and like her background was just seemed just really sketchy.
Mm.
So she told me she was adopted,
Mhm.
and she told me that, which I found actually was true. She wasn't in fact adopted,
Mhm.
but she told me that she found her biological parents, and it was this extremely wealthy family from Miami.
Mm.
And she's like, Arnold's son, the one he had with the affair with his maid.
Right.
She's like, he's dating my biological sister. And I was like, okay,
Okay,
like
yeah.
I care that like that's a weird
What a
way to
weird
get clout.
flex. That's the weirdest flex ever. You know, Arnold's illegitimate son, he's
Yeah,
dating my sister, biological
yeah,
sister. Yeah.
yeah, super weird. And telling me that how as a child, so she grew up with her biological parents till she said like she was 6 or
Mm.
something, until they got decided they weren't cut to be parents or whatever. And she said how they were drug addicts, how she remembers going into like trap houses to get drugs for them because they were because they asked her to go in and get them. And I'm like, okay, that seems
And they're
odd, but
wealthy? Like, well, that's so odd. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, she said that was back in the day, and then
Right.
after they put her up for adoption, they eventually got their shit together, opened up a restaurant, and um yeah, became very wealthy. But honestly, at this point, like she showed me these people on Instagram, but I found out at some point, like everything she would show me, unless I could see that it was an actual picture of her, is like fab. It's like pulled pictures. Like she's created like multiple social media profiles and stuff. Like she's intricate. Like she's deep
Okay.
into
All right.
this
Well,
into
we're
this
gonna get
house.
into that. We're gonna get into all that. But so let's get back to you pulled out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And first time, and she starts crying, and
Okay.
I'm like,
Not the desired
what is
effect. Yeah.
not the desired effect?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And so it was just weird. I didn't know what to say, I didn't know what to do. And I was like, okay, this is weird. This is just, again, I'm coming from a place where I am looking for something healthy. I'm not even looking for anything serious
Hmm. Hmm.
necessarily, but definitely it's got to be healthy.
Yeah.
And so I told her, you know what, like, I think, like, cool girl. I was like, you're a cool girl, but we should just be friends.
Hmm.
Like, I think we're kind of just at different places. So she's like, okay, whatever. And she just always had an attitude. Like when you asked me like what were some of the weirdness, she just always had an attitude about everything.
Mm.
Everything, like she tried to turn everything into a fight.
Mm.
Things that I wasn't even like fighting. I didn't
Yeah.
even have like a stance.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Weird. So that happened, and a few days later, I'm at work and she texts me and she said, hey, what what was the date that we had sex?
Hmm.
And I'm like, I just like immediately felt my heart
Yeah.
drop.
I
And
was
I'm
just
like,
gonna
I
say
know.
that line, like that question is just like your heart just drops out of your feet. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. So I told her, and I was like, it was like not that long ago. I don't know why you're
Yeah.
asking me.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
this is a couple days.
Right.
And um she's like, oh, nothing, not a big deal. I missed my period, something like that. Like, I was so, so I'm like, okay. And so, but even then, I'm like a little skeptical because, okay, granted, I do have a daughter. Now, that was in high school. That was me learning to have sex. I'm at this point 31 years old. Like, again, anything could happen, but I was very confident that I
Sure. Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
bust it. So I don't know. It was weird. So I had this camping trip planned with a friend like the next weekend, like maybe 2 weekends from that. And she calls me and she's like, so I talked to my daughter. And again, just red flags going off through this entire process. She's like, I talked to my doctor, and my doctor's like, um, Valerie, you know your body. Do you think you're pregnant? You know you're pregnant. This is what she's telling me.
That's
The
not what
conversation.
doctors say.
And exactly. And I was like, that is so unprofessional for, if that actually happened, that's so unprofessional for a doctor to say that. I was like, that's bogus.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Crazy. So she's like, well, I got my blood work done. And I didn't know that this was even a thing, but there's a blood test you can do to test your HCG levels. That's like some kind of,
what is that HCG?
I think it's some kind of hormone in blood that when they're to a certain, when the levels are drop or are above or below a certain point, it
means you're pregnant. You're producing the things that your body produces when you're pregnant. Okay. Yeah.
Right. And so, so she worked at a record retrieval place. They handle legal and medical documents for legal offices. So she sends me a screenshot of an HCG level test. It's got her name on it. It's got her birth date on it. It's got the date of the test. It's got the HCG level. And I Googled it, and it's like, yeah, that means you're pregnant. And I called her, and I'm on this camping trip and with my friends, and she's like, Bobby, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, fuck. So I'm like, all right, well, I was like, I didn't expect this. I didn't plan this, but there's nothing to do other than to, like own my responsibilities and take care of it. So, all right, we're doing this, I guess.
So hold on a second. So you immediately, do you have a conversation? Is there no conversation about whether or not she's going to have it? It's just, I'm pregnant and I'm having this child and you're the father. And then you say, as one must or should at the very least, in your situation, you're saying, okay, this is, my actions, I'm responsible for them. I'm going to be this child's father. Now, I have a question though. You know that she's
crazy.
Maybe not even crazy at this point, but she's not exactly at this point, at the very least, she's not totally honest. So is there any part of you that's like, but wait, how do we know that? Like, where's your head in this? And how are you talking to her about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I told her, right away, and like, I'm not going to be the guy that doesn't own up to this or like tries to get out of it. But when the child's born, we're going to take a paternity test. I need to know whether it's just for my own.
Sure.
She's like, absolutely not a problem at all.
Okay.
That was the weird thing. It's like she knew exactly the things. Like, again, like she threw up so many red flags, and people listening to this are going to think, well, I would have done this, or it's so obvious to do this thing. And I agree, but in hindsight, of all the red flags she threw up, she did just enough to keep me at bay and to make things make sense. And I guess to the part of it is maybe just me being naive, like coming from my perspective, like you hear about people doing evil shit or just fucked up things to people. And it's like, but that's always the stuff you hear about. It doesn't really happen to you.
Yeah.
So it was me being naive. I should have honestly that as soon as I got back from a camping trip, took a pee test to her and say, do this in front of me now.
Right. Okay. But I understand why you wouldn't do that. That's extreme. But okay. So now you are dealing with the reality that you've gotten this woman you don't really know pregnant, and that she's going to have the child, and you come back from your camping trip, and now what does life look like for you with her?
So trying to trying to spend more time together, just build a relationship. Because, like you said, we didn't know each other that well. It had been maybe a month,
Hmm.
maybe a month and a half that we'd been like kind of talking, hanging out. So at that point, it was just okay. Let's give this another try.
Hmm.
I wasn't ready for a serious relationship. It's one of the reasons I didn't want to pursue anything. And but if we're gonna have a kid together, I'm already a single parent. I don't want to do that again. I
Yeah.
want to do it the right way. So let's give this a shot. And so yeah, we just started hanging out, spending time together, trying to get to know each other a little bit. But again, like, man, I wish I was telling this story to you 2.5 years ago
Hmm.
to just remember all the details and crazy things. But yeah, it was just flag after flag. Like again, she just everything was a fight. So my last relationship, she would weaponize that against me out of her own insecurity, like, which I was going into that very aware that, hey, like anybody that I'm going to be with, if I tell them I had like this great
Yeah.
relationship,
Right.
they're going to be like, oh, so you wish she was still alive? And how do you answer that question? Like,
What's weird is that someone in that like, say, this new woman in your life who's telling you that she's pregnant, that you're trying to start a relationship with, or trying to maintain a relationship with, you know it's strange that that is the reaction, instead of some kind of sympathy or understanding for you in your situation. I mean, were
yeah,
you went through something extremely traumatic, which is obviously also, which we haven't mentioned, leaving you vulnerable in a number of ways, whether you realize it or not. Your vulnerability to relationships in general is probably still it's still fresh, what happened in your previous relationship. Your mind is probably all over the place as it is, and now
yeah,
this new thing's coming at you, and she sounds like someone, whether she's crazy or not, she's very sort of authoritative and convincing with what she does put forth, and you're a little bit caught in the headlights, and it's understandable. But you're saying she would talk about your previous relationship as if she was some kind of like unattainable standard, again, that she was expected to live up to, basically. Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And it was never a thing where I brought up my previous relationship. I
Mm.
made it a point to not bring it up, like that's the
So
past.
she's bringing it up entirely.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's very strange.
She was very manipulative. She wanted to have power over me
Hmm.
and to I don't know. I don't know what she wanted. I honestly, she just was very this is just a whole thing that she was into.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't
So
know.
then when do you start, like, obviously you're running into walls and stumbling blocks and all that, but when do you start to
Mhm.
really like hit the wall that is inevitably coming with all this?
I'm gonna say this. That is there's basically at the end of the story.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, keep going then. Yeah.
So as we're hanging out, we're getting to know each other, trying to make this work. I'm turning into like a young Sherlock Holmes. I'm just like looking at trying to pick up on all these clues, these things that she's saying. So I looked at her, and this is not that any of the things I found necessarily mean anything, but
Hmm.
they're just hinting at things that she's lying about. So
Hmm.
for instance, the family in Miami, I saw that she followed this mom, her mom, and her sisters on social media, but none of them followed her back. Um,
Uh,
Even though they were over the last like several years had been trying, according to her, build a relationship, like
right, right. You would
rekindle a
think at the
relationship.
very least you'd follow your biological daughter that you want to rekindle a relationship with on
She's got a
Instagram.
daughter,
Yeah.
right? She's got a daughter, so keeping up to tabs with your granddaughter,
Yeah.
um, stuff like that. And uh, yeah, so just little things like that. She told me, her ex was a Marine and that he had cheated on her with her best friend. And she's like, my best friend, this girl, hey, do you know this girl? She follows you on Instagram. I was like, no, I don't think I even follow her
Mm.
back. She follows me. She's like, well, be weary of her because leery, maybe the words is the right word, leery or weary?
Leery or
Leery,
wary. Yeah.
wary of this person. My ex boyfriend cheated on me with this person, and she used to be my best friend, so she's shady. Just stay
Uh-huh.
away from her.
Uh-huh.
And to me, I was like, I don't care because I don't know this person anyway. She just happens to
Yeah,
follow
who
me
even
again.
is this person? Who gives a shit?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same school, kind of smaller community,
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then, whatever, that her ex-boyfriend, Marine, whatever, apparently moved out, like left her or whatever after all that. So she's telling me she's got an ex-husband, she's got a kid, she's got a brother that's also from her biological parents, but he doesn't have a relationship with the parents, but he's also up here in Michigan somehow. And he's got two daughters. And so she would like send me pictures. She sent me
Mm.
pictures of she went on like a family canoeing trip, and it's her in a canoe with her brother, and like cool, like sweet, have fun, hope you're having fun,
Yeah.
whatever. And this gets to a point where it just is so toxic. Like she's and I apologize for jumping around all
No,
over the
it's
place.
okay. Yeah.
Um, she's again just a very toxic person. Like um, creating fights out of nothing. She got all pissed off and was accusing me of one of the things she would do is she was a big hypocrite, so she would accuse me of basically things that she was doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, "You're not putting any effort into this relationship. You feel like you're not even trying. This is a one-way street." And at this point, this is like every day it's something with this girl
Oh
that
wow.
I'm
Okay.
not doing that I'm not doing right, and I'm just like hanging on by a thread. And I kind of reached my limit, and I'm like, listen, how is that so? Like, I know your parents, both your parents' names. I know your birthday, your daughter's birthday. I know all this information about you. What's my mom's name? What's my
Mm.
daughter's birthday? Like, she's like, I just basically threw it in her face with factual stuff, like
Mm.
how I'm actively trying to get
Right.
to know you
Right.
and do something here, do the right thing, and be patient. Like, and granted, this whole time, my understanding is that she's pregnant and she's hormonal, and maybe the mood swings are due to that, right? So I'm trying to be very, patient of
Mm-hmm.
that and
Mm-hmm.
and acknowledge that, and it's just not getting any better.
But at the same time, you are noticing this weird shit, like with her talking about her family. They don't follow her back on Instagram. Like, what
Yeah,
are
yeah.
at this point? Are you thinking, well, what else is a lie, or are you not going there yet?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure it out as I go.
Right. Right.
I'm trying to figure it out. So, for example, so what we talked about early, kind of the trauma that I'd come into the
Yeah.
situation with.
Yeah.
Well, her trauma always trumped my trauma,
Right. Okay.
and so when I brought up, hey, like I just noticed, and I knew it was like walking on eggshells this entire time. Anything I talked about was like walking on eggshells. So I was like, hey, I noticed like your mom and sisters don't follow you. I just thought that was weird. She blew up on
Yeah.
me, how that's a big insecure point of her life, how I'm bringing up trauma as if I'm trying to do something hateful and in
Mm-hmm.
spite of her. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm finding all these little holes in your story, and your tactic of not having to be accountable for or provide answers is just to be mean and
Mm-hmm.
attack me.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of
So
textbook. It's like she's kind of teaching you to not bring up certain things because you should know better because that's a sore spot for her. When in reality, it's like what you're doing is you're scratching at something that is a dishonesty that she's trying to spin to you that she doesn't want you asking about for other reasons, you know? And that's also
yeah,
interesting what you said about she's always telling you information about her own life, but she's never asking you about yours. That's interesting because if what she's saying is not true, it's almost like she was trying to clog the pipes with her own bullshit. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Which is another tactic that is rather common. But yeah, you're in the middle of it at the moment, so you probably don't know
yeah,
which way is up. Yeah,
yeah. I'm just trying to do the right thing and
yeah.
be a good person. I just don't know, but it's like it's a very difficult person to deal with, and so um, uh, yeah. So we eventually decide to go to couples counseling.
And how far into this is? Where are we now? Like, how long have you been seeing her? How far
This
into her
is
pregnancy?
this is about maybe 3 months.
Okay,
3 months.
So the end of the
So
first trimester is now couples therapy, right?
yeah,
Okay. Got it.
yeah.
Got it.
So it's going great. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
it's going great. And oh man, I can't tell you, like I can just each day a little bit of my life and joy just was getting sucked out, and like it felt like my life was just being taken away from
Mhm.
me. Like, and I'm trying to. So so anyways, so we start going to couples therapy, and she's bringing up that um I've she's worried about me being alone with our child because I've done drugs in the past. And it's like smoked I used to
Whoa.
smoke I used to smoke weed. Like I still will every once in a while, but it's like first of all, it's weed. Second of all, it's not like all the time or every day. And like
Yeah.
and then like this is really funny. The one of the first sessions with a therapist or counselor or whatever, she's like, so any what's your family background? Like any like trauma with the family background stuff? And I kind of tell my family background, and she's like, no, not really. And
Mm.
I'm like, okay, like if we're gonna come here and this is
Yeah.
supposed to be like a spot of honesty, like let's be very clear, like because this has been a big issue in our relationship
Right.
is your trauma with your
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
but now you don't want to talk about it. And she's like, well, yeah, there is this thing, there is this, but she tries to act like it's nothing to the counselor, but
Right. Okay.
weird,
Huge
weird.
red flag, mind you.
Yeah.
But okay, yeah.
So we're doing this, and we go maybe like 3 or 4 times, and eventually, at this point, I'm like, listen, like I got to get out of this. Like
Hmm.
I'm we're not compatible,
Hmm.
and that's okay. And I'm trying to be very nice about this. Like, it's not your fault. It's not my fault. We just aren't
Yeah.
compatible, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Let's do this co-parenting thing. I'm doing it. I have a really good relationship with my daughter's mom right
Hmm.
now. I'm capable of it. Let's just do that.
Yeah.
And she's like blowing up my phone, like I'm the worst person ever. How she
Yeah.
is it's really weird because she would like say the nastiest, meanest things to me about how I'm an awful person, how I'm an awful father now, how she's going to take me to court and all this stuff. But then follow it up with the text of, but I, but I, but I believe in the fathers being, having a 50-50. I believe in fathers' rights and them having a 50-50 share. So gonna, you're gonna have 50% custody. So I'm like, pick one side of like, what side of the fence of this are you on? You're saying one
Yeah.
thing, and then the next thing saying something completely different. So it was just weird. And she one thing she kept doing or one thing she claimed was that her adoptive father had passed away and left her a very significant inheritance. And so she would hang that over my head as if I cared, but she would like, I have good luck going to court against $1 million. And I'm like, what are you
God.
talking about? I never even brought up court. Like
Yeah.
I'm literally texting you saying everything's going to be fine.
Right.
And you're
Yeah.
texting me saying I'm a piece of shit for
Yeah.
saying everything's going to be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. You.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
so, um, so we're again for the second time not together. Just decided we're not going to be together, and goes by for a few days, and next thing, or maybe about a week, and and then during this whole time, she would text me and say, "Hey, had a check up about the baby. Just wanted to keep you updated." Blah blah blah. Would say everything's fine,
Hmm.
more or less. You know.
Hmm. Here's what I'm struggling with right now. Like
Yeah.
in, and again, I understand it's not possible to understand what you're going through, even though you're telling me, and I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. What are your friends? What are other people in your life saying about your situation?
Yeah.
What are your friends saying?
They're just like, very surprised. And so a handful of my close friends met her in person before we
Uh-huh.
said anything about being pregnant.
Okay.
And, kind of like any new relationship, like, oh, cool. Yeah, she seems cool.
Right.
It's fine.
Right.
And then the pregnancy thing, like, seriously? Like, oh, okay. What are you
Yeah.
going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to handle it.
Yeah.
I'm going to own up to it. And so, okay, that's something, I guess. I don't think they really knew how to.
So, but did you tell your friends about what she was like? Like, did you?
Yes.
Okay, so then were any of them? What I'm really looking for is, were any of them like, dude, something's up with this whole thing? Like,
Yeah,
and
I
I'm
was.
yeah. What like is anyone sounding the alarm? Like the whole foundation of everything is something's off.
Yeah, well, I think I was pick I was picking up on all of the cues and bringing them to, basically my friends weren't pointing out
Okay,
anything that I wasn't aware of,
right.
but they were kind of, basically I was most transparent with my best friend, um, and like, dude, I don't know, she's acting this way, and he's like, dude, that I'm sorry, like you're gonna get through this,
Yeah.
just get through it, and you'll kind of figure it out as you go. Like he was just kind of trying to be like, moral support, and but he, yeah, I mean, I was the one kind of sounding the alarms, I guess, and he was
Okay.
kind of, am I crazy for thinking all this thing, or
Right. Right.
noticing
Right. Right.
noticing that these things are strange?
Right.
And no, dude, that's wild. Like
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
nuts. So, um, yeah, it was weird. And so through this whole time, like trying to work on the relationship and then going to counseling, like, so I had kept in touch with my previous relationships parents. I had still had a really good relationship with them, and this was so hard to do. I called her mom, and my we'll say ex's mom, and I was like, "Hey, I got something to tell you." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, did you find someone? I'm so happy for you."
Oh.
And I'm like, kind of, sort of.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Told her, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, Bobby." And she's, I think, just like, well, she just kind of laughed. She's like, "Well, you've done it before. You can do it again. Like, you're going to be a great father." So, um, told my mom, and telling my friends was just, it was difficult. My mom was like, I could tell my mom was a little disappointed. Like, she didn't know this
Hmm.
person. Um, and she wanted more from me, I think. And then the funniest was telling my daughter, she's 13 at the time. And I told her, oh, so to back up, we decided we didn't want our kids to find out. So she had a daughter, I had a daughter, and we didn't want them to find out that we were pregnant before we hadn't met each other yet. We hadn't met each other's kids.
Hmm.
So we went out bowling one night, the four of us, and just to get to know each other, got introduced. But she didn't introduce her daughter to me as like her boyfriend or anything. Just I
Mm.
was like a friend.
Mm.
So a couple weeks later, I'm like, I need to tell, like, I'm not just gonna tell. Sorry, I need to tell my daughter
Mhm.
this. I'm not gonna say, guess what? I'm having a baby next week. Like,
Yeah.
I need
Yeah.
to tell
Yeah.
her. And my daughter's like, the first thing she said, she's like, gross, you have sex? Like, it was just so funny because thinking about it from
Yeah. Yeah.
her
Yeah.
her experience with me, she just doesn't see me with women like that,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
and
Understandably. Yeah.
and so that was just funny, and I'm like, yeah, like,
Well,
so,
actually, only one time, and frankly, my daughter I did pull out, but that's a whole other story.
actually two times including you, two times
Right. It was
including
only
you.
twice. One time you're here. Second time, well, we'll get into the details later. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
so
Yeah.
yeah. So anyways, then again, we're broken up. It's a whole toxic thing. I'm I'm just stressed the F out over everything. And so we're taking a break, and about a week and a half later, I get a text from an unknown number,
Mm.
and it's this really long text. And it's from the area code she says that her adoptive family is from. So not not her biological people
Oh,
from
okay.
Miami,
Right. 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 Yeah.
her adoptive family here in Michigan,
Mhm.
because they live like 45 minutes north. And it's, hey, this is, I can't remember her name, but so and so. Should I say the girl's name or
It's
no?
up to
Probably
you. It
not.
doesn't matter. It's
Um,
totally up to you. You can not. You can leave it out. Yeah.
okay, it's easier to say it. So, hey, I'm such and such. I'm his mom.
Hmm.
We're in the ER. She was acting really weird last night, and um, she was feeling some pain. She had a really bad headache, and it was getting worse and worse. And we eventually just went to the ER. We got a scan. We found out that she had a brain tumor, and it needs to be removed. And I'm like, what? Like, is she okay? Like, is the baby okay? Like, what's happening? What can I do? Can I come to the hospital? Now, this is during COVID. This is 2020. This is August of
Okay,
2020.
so right in the thick of COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so she's saying she's going to get, sorry if I butcher the word, a craniotomy?
Okay.
What's the
Craniomania?
word?
Craniomania, that's the word. No, I don't know, but she's getting
Yeah,
a fucking brain tumor surgery
brain surgery. Yes.
while
Yeah.
pregnant with your child.
Yeah. Yeah. So
What
I'm
the
like, oh
fuck?
my God, like, and she said I couldn't come visit because it was a 2-person max due to the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
and like her couple of her family members were there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. My
And
producer's
so
laughing. Sorry, he's
as he
loving it.
should,
Yeah, yeah,
as
yeah,
he
yeah, yeah,
should.
yeah.
And so yeah, so I'm like, what in the hell? So this happens over a weekend. I'm checking in with her. She then she texts me,
Mm.
the girl texts me maybe the next day or something. Hey, surgery went good. I'm feeling okay. Just a little like lightheaded.
Wow, dude. Hey, just had a brain surgery. I'm doing all right actually. It's weird, but yeah.
Listen, I'm not a doctor. If you're telling me you're pregnant and you're giving me a blood test, I'm gonna believe. If you tell me you had a craniotomy or you have brain surgery, I have no reason.
I get it. But here's the thing, you did have reasons though. Just to be clear, she
Okay, you're
was
right. You're right.
being fucking crazy and weird, and you did have reasons to be like, let's do a
You're right.
fucking. Were you ever like, can I come with you to the doctor, like the OBGYN? Like, was there anything? I mean, I'm sure you're gonna get to all that, but like,
Yes.
okay, you'll get to it.
Yes.
Keep going. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I know I'm missing pieces of the story.
No, it's fine.
So
I'm not
please
wanting.
make sure you're asking.
I'm not wanting you to hurry up or anything. I just like, I there's a part of me where I'm like, holy shit, like this
No.
she's telling so many fucking lies, right? Or at least
Yeah,
shady things, confusing things that like, yeah.
Yeah. So no, and I want you to keep asking me because some of these things have happened and I'm just skipping over them
Right.
because everything's fucking
Right.
amazed. But
Yeah.
no, like she had just coincidentally her OBGYN appointments were during these times we weren't together. And
Mm.
I think I was at work or something. I couldn't make it.
Right.
Ultimately, I couldn't make it. Even though we weren't together, I still wanted to be there. I was like,
okay.
I want to be 100% involved.
Right.
It just, she would, whether it was coincidence or whatever it was, again, this is 3 years ago, so I don't remember exactly why I couldn't make them, but
Mhm.
I think there was only like 1 or 2 that she had that occurred that I couldn't make.
Right. Okay.
I don't know. But same thing, I wanted to be involved and
Yeah.
just couldn't. So, yeah, so great question. But, yeah, so she's telling me she's in the hospital and I asked her like, hey, can we FaceTime? Like,
yeah.
can we,
Yeah.
couldn't FaceTime. Like, I can't even, or maybe we did FaceTime.
You did FaceTime. Okay. And what was her head in a fucking bandage or what?
So she shaved her entire side of her head. She had long hair, full head of hair. She shaved the entire side of her head and it was wrapped in bandages, heavy bandages.
Okay. So here I am thinking you're such a sucker, but in reality, she went for these fucking lies. Like she fucking was like,
Went all in.
oh no, he wants to FaceTime. Bzzz, give me a bandage. Okay. Ring. Hey. Oh,
Yeah.
Wow, dude. Okay.
And so
that's above and beyond. Yeah.
Yeah. But to take it even one further, I'm still skeptical. I'm skeptical of the surgery. I am skeptical.
Still, even though the bandage and the shaving. Okay. Good.
Yeah. And I'm like, hey, like, I've never seen brain surgery before. Like, can I see your staple? I was like, how is it sewn up? Is it stable? Like, she's like, yeah, but well, next time I change my dressings, I'll show you.
Fair enough.
And again, I'm thinking she's pregnant.
So you are thinking though, this is shady. This is too much. I'm not buying it, but
things aren't adding up to me.
Okay.
I'm absolutely not convinced of anything.
Okay. So you're not just a total rube being like, oh my God, thank God she survived brain surgery. You're believing what you have to still be a good person on this earth, but you are super skeptical and trying to cautiously pin her down and get the truth. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's it.
Got
That's
it.
it. And again, it's like walking on eggshells, trying to ask her about these holes or
Because she gets mad.
she gets
Yeah.
pissed
Right.
off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then she comes back. So she gets back home from the hospital apparently,
Mhm.
and I go see her that night.
Okay.
And I go to her house. The first time I've been to her house, she's got kind of it's kind of it needs some work, and she's saying, "Oh, I'm trying to remodel the house right now.
Okay.
Don't go in like the whole bathroom, like you can't go in the upstairs bathroom because it's it it's completely like the flooring's torn out, the bathtub's torn out, everything's torn out. You can go in the We were in the basement anyway, so it's
Right.
not like, well, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
investigate the
Yeah.
top
Yeah.
stairs
Yeah.
bathroom.
I
Let
would
me
have, but yes, I understand why you wouldn't. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Well, no, the thing is that I think I did walk past it at some point, and the doors maybe cracked, and it was messed up in there. So I think it was under
Oh.
construction.
Oh. Okay.
I don't think
Okay.
it was. We'll get to that later, but I
Yeah.
don't think it was a new thing. I
Got it.
think
Got it. Got it. Okay. Yeah. Got it.
um so where was I? So I went over there
Yeah.
and
Post brain surgery, you were over there. She
post brain
says
surgery.
house is a mess. Yeah. Okay.
House is a mess. She's got like pictures like just like put like leaned up against the wall, and I see pictures of her brother and her nieces and her daughter, and I'm like, oh,
Okay.
pictures cool. And
Right.
um uh and she's like, yeah, the doctor said, and this is weird. It was like someone had flipped a switch, and I
Uh-huh.
was talking to a different person. She was totally mellow. It was like she was on some kind of drug or
Dude,
something, which I thought maybe
the brain surgery changed her whole brain.
she
Yeah.
said she said this brain tumor, because of it impacted the frontal lobe. The doctor said um, it could explain any mood swings, irrational or irritable behavior that
Oh,
over
dude.
the
So
last
she's really thinking this shit out.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
She's like adding complications to either make it seem real or even who the fuck knows why. That's so wild. Wow. Okay.
She's trying to keep me in. She keeps trying to reel me in. Every time I'm
Right.
like, oh, like this just isn't going to work. She comes up first. First, she's
Yeah.
pregnant. Now she's got a brain tumor. So now I'm dealing with someone who's got a traumatic childhood that she's, I need to be sensitive around. She's pregnant. She's hormonal. She just had fucking brain surgery. I can't be my, am I, am I just the worst person on earth to just
Right.
be
I mean,
like,
there's a part of
honestly,
you, right, that it's interesting because she's at in many ways she's a terrible liar, but at the same time, she's like, if let's say she really did have a brain tumor, and let's say that was making her behave irrational, and that's making her be mean and confrontational and all these things, and then all of a sudden you're seeing her be kind, warm, patient. That almost that almost turns it into a clean slate. Now it's believable again, right?
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
dude. She
absolutely.
got you, dude. That's good. That is a good move. Dude, I gotta hand it to her. The brain surgery thing that's fucking good. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, so this is the beginning, the end of Sept. I think the whole brain surgery thing happened in September,
And
and
so how many months into the pregnancy is this?
so she told me she was pregnant the weekend of I want to say the 4th of July.
Okay.
So July, August,
Yeah.
September. Sorry if I'm mixing up the timeline,
No, it's fine. But
it's
what I'm getting at is pregnancy shows. So like
right.
what's going on there?
And that's another again, she wasn't overweight by any means, but
Uh-huh.
she wasn't like super skinny. She had like somewhat of a stomach, I
Okay.
guess you'd
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
And it was hard to tell. Like at 3 months, I don't know what someone's supposed to show. Everybody's
Very
kind of different.
little. Yeah. It can be almost nothing at 3 months. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's telling me, and I brought it up. I'm like, you really don't seem to be showing too much.
Okay.
And again, this is me trying to fish through answers.
Yeah. So you're not just being like, oh, interesting. You're not showing. You're like, you're thinking, is there even a baby in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's like, well, yeah, but she's like, I've had one. So, she's like, I've always heard that. She told me the more babies you have, like the less. Sometimes you show less after the first one.
Fair enough, but I mean,
Again, I'm not a doctor.
as months go on, you're going to
You're gonna see.
show. You're going to show if
Yeah.
you're 8 months pregnant. You're going to notice. You know, I mean, you hear stories. Dude, I dated this girl once. She told me her mom gave birth to her, and when she broke, her water broke, she still didn't even know she was pregnant. And this woman, the woman that I dated, was, before you ask, like, was her mother obese or whatever, like, she was tiny. This woman was like 5 feet tall, skinny as a rail, and she said so was her mother. So look, maybe it's really possible that some people can be pregnant all the way to full term and not show, but that is extremely, obviously, very like fishy. Yeah.
So now we're at this place where I'm like, okay, she's got this brain tumor out. Maybe things will change. I'm feeling.
Yeah, this is great, dude. You got your brain fixed. Now it's going to be great. Yeah.
I'm trying to make this, and I'm trying to turn this thing into a positive if I can. Like, I'm trying to.
Yeah.
And again, like, to the outside people, it's going to sound so ridiculous, but you had, like, it's different being in the scenario and in the situation. And also, like, trust me, all the questions that people are thinking, why didn't you ask her this? Why didn't you do this? I likely did ask all those questions,
Right.
and she just was able to come up with just a good enough answer to, again, just keep me at bay, not convince me necessarily, but to just push it up, move it along.
Keep you from not being like, you're a fucking liar, I'm out, bye. Yeah. All right. Okay.
And mind you, my whole plan is I'm getting a paternity test
right away,
as soon as possible anyway. Yeah. So we're good. So during all this, like, again, I was living with a family friend, and I was like, okay, well, I can't be living in my friend's basement. Yeah. So, and I was planning on buying another house, but I just wasn't in a huge hurry to do so. Now I'm in a hurry to do so. I'm like, so I bought a condo. I bought a condo so that I'd have a nice place for me and my child and my daughter. And so, I mean, that's a big thing. Like, that's a big purchase.
Bro, you bought a fucking home to accommodate your growing family.
Yes.
That is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It's like, the only thing bigger than that is like buying an island for your family, you know? Like, buying a home that's the biggest purchase there is. Yeah.
So we're taking another stab at a relationship. So
brain tumor's gone, new woman, new life, future is bright.
Yeah. And I will say, after the brain tumor got removed, things did improve.
Right.
They got better.
Yeah. Great.
For the most part, there were still some hiccups, but for the most part, it was better. So now we're approaching Halloween. My friends are the same best friend I was kind of sharing all these details with. He's throwing a Halloween party. So she's like, hey, I was like, hey, do you want to go to this with me? It'll be like kind of one of our first times doing something as a couple.
Right. Yeah. You've been kind of sheltered unto yourselves thus far because of circumstances and whatnot, especially because it's COVID, right? So, but now you're going to finally be out in the world as a couple.
Yeah. So we go to this Halloween party, we dress up, she's Cher, I'm Sonny Bono. Like, we did the whole thing. Cool. And like, the next day, first time I've posted on social media anything about her, I posted a picture of us on my Instagram. And so that was a Sunday. So the party was on a Saturday. I posted the picture on a Sunday, and Monday morning, lo and behold, this friend that she told me to be wary of DMs me on Instagram and says, hey, are you dating Valerie?
Yeah.
And I said, well, you could say that.
You're right. Yeah.
And I'm ironically, I'm thinking this girl that's messaging me is the one I need to be cautious of.
Right. Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. You've been warned about her. Yeah.
Yeah. Because she's probably trying to sleep with me or get inside of my relationship, and I'm trying to fix this thing. So, and I'm like, yeah, you could say that. Why do you ask? And she's like, well, she's married, right? And I'm like, well, she told me she was married.
Yeah.
And now she's not. And she's like, no, she's definitely still married, dude. And I'm like, what?
Uh-huh.
And and she's like, yeah, she's got 3 kids. And I
Three
was like,
kids.
I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. She told me she had one.
Right.
And she's like, yeah, she's lying, dude. She's she's done this before. And I'm like, she's told another guy that she
Yeah. What did she mean?
lied about me.
She's done
So
this.
she said, I can't remember how this got brought up, but I think I'm messaging back and forth with this
Yeah.
girl, and I'm like, I told her I think that she's pregnant,
Yes.
and she's like, dude, she's told another dude, she's faked a pregnancy with another dude. Just so you know, she's lied about being married. I used to be best friends with this girl. The
Uh-huh.
last time I was at her house, she told 2 of her daughters to call her Aunt Valerie. And I'm
What?
like, you're kidding me. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna check with Valerie at first. Like, I'm just gonna ask her, bring this up. Like,
Okay.
and
Right.
I knew this was gonna be a whole
Right.
issue
Because she already
because,
been warned about her. I mean, she
yeah,
set that up kind of as best as she could. If
yeah,
she knows that person can blow up her whole cover, she
yeah,
warns you about her ahead of time and says she's just going to try to sabotage my relationship with whoever I end up with one.
yeah.
Okay. So then you go to Valerie.
So I call her. I'm at work. This is like 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm at work. I'm at the office, and I call her. I'm like, yo, like, I got these messages. I'm assuming that this girl is just trying to fuck with me, but I don't know. Like, she's like, yeah, she's lying about it. And then this person started sending me pictures and sent me her husband's contact information, and her
Valerie's
husband,
husband's contact information.
Valerie's husband,
Oh boy. Okay.
yes, asked that this other her friend, this person messaged, got in contact with Valerie's husband and asked him to reach out to me. And so I'm talking to him. He's like, dude, yeah, we're married, we've got 3 kids, she's done this before. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So then I call her again, and I'm like, yo, I just talked to your husband.
Yeah.
You need
Yeah.
to tell me the truth
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
She's still holding on to the fact that she's not married. They're not together anymore. And
Okay. I mean,
it's
she's
lying.
got the biggest balls in the world. So
Yeah.
okay. So wait, the friend that she warned you about,
Yeah.
got in touch with Valerie's husband.
Yep.
And Valerie's husband said, "Put me in touch with you." To the friend.
The friend told Valerie's husband, you should contact this guy.
Oh, okay. And then the husband reached out to you.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's like, listen, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, he says, "Yes, I'm her husband."
Okay. Yeah. So he said, I'm her husband. We have 3 kids.
Mhm.
She's not pregnant because she got a hysterectomy after her last pregnancy.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay.
And so okay. At this point, I don't know what, I'm in a whole mind fuck. Like, why would he would have zero reason to lie to me other than damage control, I guess. Maybe. She's If she lied about all this, she went so fucking deep. She let me tell my family, my daughter, she let me buy a home. She faked a brain tumor. What's more crazy, him lying to me or her? Like, I didn't know what to think. So I'm like, do you have proof? Just to ease my mind, you have proof? And he's like, well, he's like, I obviously don't have I don't have any documentation. Maybe I can find like a receipt or something. But no, this is like years ago.
Yeah,
like, we had our
right.
last child like 4 years ago. Like, no. So, and he's like, dude, this happened. He's like, the first time this happened, get this. He's like, I was out of state visiting my father who had a brain tumor and is going to die.
Oh my God. The brain tumor comes back.
The brain tumor comes back. So his dad, who lived in Indiana, he was there visiting him while he was very sick with an actual brain tumor.
Right.
And she started cheating on him. Valerie started cheating on her husband then with a different guy.
Oh wow.
And created a fake pregnancy. Eventually, down the road, told him she broke it off with him and had the baby and said, I don't want you involved in the baby's life at all. This guy's was in distress. He asked his sister to go to their house. This is, we'll call him victim number one.
Okay. Yes. Yes. John Doe number one. Yeah.
Victim number one's sister went to their house and said, listen, like, I don't know what's going on, but my brother has a baby with Valerie, and I'm just here to give. She won't let him be a part of the life. I'm just here to give some things for the baby to help contribute. And her husband's like, I'm her husband. She didn't have a baby. Like, there's no baby here. And so that's how he found out. That's how he found out. And he sent me the screenshots of his conversation with this sister. So, like, to back up that, yes, Valerie's done this before.
And how long ago had she done it the first time?
This was, I think, a year or maybe a year prior to me talking to her.
Recently, like very recently.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
What mental illness is this?
Yeah, so I don't know. So so there I am. I'm talking. I'm out. I had to go outside of work because I was like, I had to vent, and I'm like, you are lying. Like, I'm talking to your husband. I know I have the facts now. You are effing lying about this. She's like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not. Like, we're married, but we're not together. She finally admitted that they weren't together, but they were technically married. She admitted that she did have 3 kids. Could not give me any. Well, why did you lie about that?
Why lie about that? It's like,
I don't know. She's just sick. She's just sick. And so I was like, no, like, we're calling on a 3-way call with your husband tonight. So I get out of work, went to my buddy's house and put it on speaker, and I was talking her, Valerie, and her husband on the same phone speaker. And I'm like, I want to know right now. I want to know the truth. What's going on? And she's like, yes, I'm married. Yes, I have 3 kids. And I was like, are you pregnant? And he's like, no, she's not pregnant, dude. And she's like, I don't want to talk about this. I'm only talking to you about this in person because he's making me say things that I don't want to say. And I'm like, listen, you're cut. Like, you're caught in a lie, and you're so far deep. You're so in denial. Like, I think you actually believe the things that you're saying.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hear from you again. Don't reach out to me. Don't come near me or my family. Hung up the phone. I blocked her on everything. She kept trying to, like, email me stuff still after the fact about, like, hey, I know you're upset with me, but we still need to figure out what's going on with the parenting stuff. She's still going in on this. And and finally and then I was like, okay, well, I got to block her email too now, apparently. So I blocked her on everything, dude. And I found out that she used to be, I don't know how far in the past, but she used to be an inpatient at a mental health facility, a local mental health facility. So again, I found out, that she had done this before, that she had cheated several times. And the day after that, we had the phone call with her and her husband. I get a message from him, Instagram direct message saying, hey, I just found out that Valerie lied to me about getting the hysterectomy. I don't want anything to do with this. Don't want to be involved at all. This is your problem to deal with. Please don't contact me ever again. And I had his phone number too. So I'm like, what the fuck? Dude. I tried to message him back, and it wouldn't go through. Like, he blocked me.
Mm-hmm.
He blocked me. I texted him or called him later on in the day, and he's like, that wasn't me, dude.
Yeah.
Like, she took my phone and did that. And I'm like, she will not effing quit.
Dude,
so,
but what is I'm sorry, you don't know the answer to this, but why is this husband still with this woman? She's a disaster.
I think like, yeah, I told him while I was still on the phone with both of them, I was like, listen, dude, like, if you want to go, if you like, you need to get this person out of your life. I will help. I will testify in court if you need me to, like, because, like, as much as I don't want to be involved, she's such an evil person, and it's just going to happen again. And like so but yeah, he had briefly told me the previous day when we were messaging back and forth, like, I don't know, I think like financially, it was gonna,
Mm.
he's in financial ruins, you leave
Yeah.
her and then there's divorce and like divorce gets messy. So I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, I think he was as almost as lost as I am. And
Mm.
man, I cannot tell you, I don't know how to compare this to another such scenario, but it felt like someone gave me my life back.
Mhm.
Like it felt like I was going to prison for 18
Mhm.
years,
Mhm.
and then somebody all of a sudden, dude, you're not going anymore. And dude, it was, oh, just a sigh of relief. And
Yeah, it's funny. Every time I go through something where I think I lost something extremely valuable, I think something terrible happened, but it didn't. The moment of elation that comes with the realization that I didn't lose that thing or the terrible thing didn't happen, I'm almost grateful for having been convinced the terrible thing was upon me, because now I have this elation that is totally
yeah,
undeserved and unwarranted. The truth is,
yeah,
there was nothing all along. I don't,
yeah,
my elation is almost like for nothing, but like I still feel it and it is still valid because I feel it. And so
yeah,
you went through, it's not just the experience that you went through that was horrible, it was what the experience implied about your near and medium term future, which was that it was
yeah,
going to be terrible for a
yeah,
long, long time, probably the rest of your life, because, obviously children grow up, but like you're always tied to whoever you parent a child, you birth a child with, right? Uh, but yeah, wow, dude. Okay, so is there any like for like where does it even end with her and you?
and I just want to make one comment
Yeah.
to tailcoat that is I think part of that that gratitude, anyways, from my experience, was getting um, getting the pre-crisis life back, just like my normal life. It's like holy shit! Without all that stress,
Yeah.
my life is so good. Like I'm so grateful just to
Yeah.
have a normal life, So I think that's part of the gratitude. And
Totally.
so to that degree, it's like, yeah, it's like I'm just so happy that I just get to exist and be happy and not have a toxic person in my life. Like that is
Yeah.
so nice. Like life
Yeah.
is great. Can't ask for anything more. So,
Wow.
um, yeah, honestly, like again, I spent I was in a mind fuck for probably a good week. Like I'm just thinking all these things and all of a sudden I found out they're all not true. So
Right. Yeah.
I felt like it was really weird. It was like I wasn't dizzy, but it was like I didn't know up from down. It was weird, man. I was like a little out of touch with reality for
Hmm.
about a week
Hmm.
until I accepted what happened and digested it and um, kind of started to try to just move on from it. But it was weird for like a solid week and like, but also like still like just anxious, like just not knowing what else could or couldn't have been true.
Hmm.
Um, could she come after me legally somehow, some way that I'm not thinking of, that I'm not, even taking into consideration, or could she come at me some other? Is she gonna attack me? Like this is an
Right.
evil
Right.
person.
Well, you're also thinking, it's not just evil. It's the unhinged nature of the behavior leads
Yeah,
one to believe that anything is possible. It's possible that this person's capable of anything. Not that you assume she's going to be violent or something, but that's on the
yeah,
table. When
exactly.
someone
Yeah,
is that irrational, that unhinged, anything is possible, because trying trying to get inside their head is not possible. So that means anything's in play.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's funny. About a week later, I'm taking a shower. I'm at my new condo,
Hmm.
and I'm taking a shower, and I'm mid suds. Right,
Hmm.
I'm all sudded up, and all of a sudden my fire alarms start going off,
Uh-oh.
and immediately my first
Yeah.
thought
Right.
is
Yeah.
this bitch just threw something through my
Yeah.
window,
Yeah.
like a
You're
Molotov
yeah.
cocktail or
Yeah. Yeah.
something.
Yeah. You're getting burnt down by this woman. Yeah.
So I jumped out of the shower. I'm naked, covered in soap, and I'm just doing a perimeter check and all good. It was just the steam from the shower. It was all
Dude,
good.
you
But
had a number done on your mind. Yeah. You just like the fire alarm goes
yes,
off, you run out of the shower naked looking for the perp. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, there was not much of the story after that. I mean, I just tried to put it behind me as far.
And did she go away? Like, did she? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, she stayed away from me. It's funny, I haven't run into her. I mean, we don't live in a crazy small town, but I mean, Grand Rapids, Michigan, it's suburbs of Grand Rapids. So
Right.
I I figured I didn't ever run into her, but I did see her about
Oh,
maybe 3 months ago at the local grocery store, and but it was in the parking lot, and I could she she was getting into her car, and I was driving with my I have a fiance now. I've
oh,
found a
good.
wonderful woman,
Yeah.
amazing person. And me and her in our car driving, and um I just ignored her. I didn't even give her I didn't look at her, I didn't do anything, but I could tell she stared me down as I drove
Oh,
past.
wow. Yeah.
And I'm like, you are probably just living this miserable life, and I've moved on, and I'm so thankful that I have nothing to do with you
Well, dude,
anymore.
God only knows what kind of bullshit she's spewing at someone else right now about something else.
Exactly,
Who even knows? Who knows?
exactly.
Also, though, to a degree, it's like, look, obviously what she did is so fucked up to you and her husband and her kids to a degree. It's fucked up all
Yeah,
around. But there's also obviously something in terms of mental illness going on with this
yeah,
person.
for sure.
And the fact that she's just out in the world is bad.
Yeah,
Unless she's medicated now, which it doesn't sound like she is. But like, let's say there's a version of the world where she could exist in the world normally and get by, sort of like abiding by the social contracts we all live by, abide by.
mhm,
If she was just medicated, like
yeah,
there are ways for people like that to live in the world. And when they can't, when there are no ways, when those ways are exhausted and attempted and they don't work out, then you actually kind of got to put them somewhere. Otherwise, they're
yeah,
liabilities.
yeah.
Um, but you know, I think to all the single men out there, avoid Grand Rapids, Michigan, is what it sounds like because she's
Yes,
still
yes.
roaming the streets. Yeah.
Yeah, to Grand Rapids. Yeah, it's funny. I was trying to pull up some of the history on this, so I went back into my Instagram and
Mm.
went way down, found the old like uh chain I had with her, and I have her blocked now, but I could still see her picture. She's still doing, maybe she's not doing this to men, but she's still putting on a fake persona because she's got a picture that's not her.
Oh wow. Oh, so she's not medicated. Let's put it that way. Uh,
She's not
so
she's not well.
if you have any like screenshots or anything, send them our way if you're willing to
Okay.
share that information, obviously. Uh, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy you're out the other side of this. When I first saw, I don't see them all, but when we're going through the submissions about which ones are going to make the cut, I saw yours, and I'll be honest, I just thought this guy's a fucking idiot. But
Yeah.
you're not. Obviously, you're not. But
Yeah.
like it in real life, the way these things play out, real life is messy. Real life is confusing. Real life is you want to be a certain way in the world, and a lot of us want to be good people in the world, and we act accordingly. We try to match that in terms of our behavior. But like, you know, fuck, man,
Yeah.
trying to be a good person really can get you into such deep shit. Yeah,
Yeah. 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 Hindsight 2020. I
yeah,
would have done things a lot different
yeah,
now, but it is what it is. She got me, but I'm happy I'm on the other side of it. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, wow, me too, man. Well, good for you. Ultimately, I mean, I'm happy you. Sounds like you're in a really good place now with your fiance. That's great to
yeah.
hear. Hopefully, she's got no brain surgeries on the horizon or anything like that. You got to be aware of. But yeah, that's great. I love a happy ending, and I'm glad you found yours.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, man. Really appreciate you having me on. It was great to meet you. I've been listening to uh Lifeline for a while now, so
Great.
big fan, and yeah, thanks for having me. Really
Yeah,
appreciate
man.
it.
Thank you, Bobby. Take care. I'll talk to you soon, I hope.
Alrighty, thanks, man.